we'll do is we're hoping to put it on the website afterwards and to send it to our SJ SIG mailing list. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we'll make a start then. So first of all, thank you so much for coming along today. So this is our second EAP4SJ AGM, and it's a real pleasure to be joined this time by recipients of the BALEAP SJ and EAP funding. So that was the funding stream that was advertised in 2021. And they're going to be outlining their projects, and we're really looking forward to hearing about those. So before we get started, we'll just go over the plan for the next 90 minutes or so. Next slide, please. Thanks. Oh no, previous. Yeah, so we're going to do a quick hello as a SIG committee, just to introduce ourselves briefly, and then we're going to go over our SIG's 4 main aims and what progress we've made towards these over the past year or so. And then we'll do the AGM business side of things, approving the annual reports, and more excitingly, ratifying 3 new committee members who are going to be joining us today. And then we will hear from the SJ and EAP research fundees in their lightning talks. And then we're kind of going to round off with a bit of information about things coming up and ways that you might want to get involved or keep in touch with us. Okay, so before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping stuff. So if you could keep your mics muted, that would be wonderful, just to avoid kind of getting any disturbances. If you wanted to kind of to add any questions or comments throughout the AGM, then please feel free to do that in the chat, and we'll try and kind of to get back to you as we go along. You're very welcome to take screenshots if you wanted to share on social media. And if you have any concerns about anything throughout the meeting, then you could send either me or Tomasz or Ivona a private message in the chat, and we'll try and sort it out. Okay, so yeah, just some brief introductions then from the current committee. So I'm Alex Palanak, and I'm the current SIG convener. And just a bit about my SJ interests. So my main interest is really widening participation for refugee background students, and also how does that impact what we do in the classroom? So I've been doing some research into trauma-informed pedagogy as well. So we're gonna start from the right and kind of move to the left here. So our research officer, Veronica Fernando, she's actually on maternity leave at the moment. So she's just had a newborn. So big congratulations to her, and she's got her hands full, so she's not able to join us today. So I'll hand over to Tomasz now to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Tomasz, and I'm the SIG's communications officer. Currently my main affiliation is the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, where I am the teaching fellow in TESOL and intercultural communication. I'm also a dissertation supervision coordinator at University of Edinburgh. In terms of my role in the SIG, I'm particularly passionate about ethical and comprehensive internationalization of higher education, and I care about representation in ELT, and interested in implications of English as a lingua franca and its impact on EAP. So that's me. Over to Ivona.
All right. Hi everyone, my name is Ivona, and I'm at the University of Glasgow. I'm the events officer for the SIG. I'm interested in relational and engaged pedagogy in oracy and internationalization, mostly around interactions and curriculum, including hidden curriculum. And I've also been recently involved with the EAP for refugees at my university.
Hello, everybody. My name's Lorraine Mighty. I work at the University of Birmingham. I've got 14 years experience in teaching English, but recently last year I actually moved into leadership and management training and organisational development. But I'm still very passionate about English for academic purposes and the internationalisation of higher education, in particular around race and racism and how that manifests within the teaching of English for academic purposes, and efforts around decolonising the curriculum and our practices as well. So yeah, and I'm the treasurer within the committee. I'll hand over now to Michelle.
Hi, so my name's Michelle and I'm the outgoing secretary. You can see that on the slide. So I've been involved with the SIG since its inception, which has been a real privilege and a pleasure to be involved in all the things that we've done. My interests are in EAP practitioner well-being, particularly the well-being of practitioners in precarity. I've got a fairly pugnacious chapter will be appearing on that subject in the forthcoming volume edited by Bond and Bruce, which I hope will be out fairly soon. Yeah, and I'm also involved with CARA, the Council for At-Risk Academics, their Syria project, and recently was in Istanbul co-facilitating the first face-to-face writing workshop that they've done since the pandemic hit. So hoping to be more involved with CARA, and I've also got a book project on the go. Paul Breen, who'll be talking later, and I will be co-editing a volume about social justice and EAP. So with all of these things on my plate, I think it's time for me to step down from my committee role and hand over to somebody else. But I'll very much be staying involved with the SIG, to which I'm very committed.
Thanks, Michelle. And yeah, you do have a very full plate there for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to take the opportunity just to say thank you so much for all of your contributions to the SIG over the last couple of years. And yeah, particularly the work that you've done to do with precarity and workers' rights and the circles of trust that you've been running as well, to kind of, you've been offering them to EAP tutors to kind of to help them with their well-being during difficult times. It's been incredibly helpful. So yeah, we'll miss you and thank you for everything. Okay, so let's move on then to our umbrella. So we have this umbrella of social justice that we'd like to bring out from time to time. Yeah, just to really just to go over what we mean by this. So we have this idea of social justice as being more than critical pedagogy or academic literacies, as it's quite often seen to be. We'd like to be able to expand the definition of social justice in EAP to other things which aren't necessarily always associated with social justice in EAP. So yeah, things like global issues and othering, identity, telecollaboration. So we'd like to be able to bring all of these things under this umbrella, so that we kind of widen the parameters of the field, and so that these things are all more commonly associated with what social justice is. So all of these things are related to our first aim, which should be coming up on the next slide. Yeah, so first aim, to put social justice on the agenda in EAP and to widen the parameters of the field as well. Aim 2, to demonstrate the value of using the social justice lens and broadening and strengthening the evidence base for this. Aim 3, to work together with other organisations. So social justice might involve voluntary organisations working with people working in FE, lots of different places. We'd like to bring any kind of relevant organisations and individuals together as part of this work, because it's complex and it's intersectional. And aim for to create a sort of active community of practice and to be welcoming to everybody, and to encourage and create spaces for people to be able to take action, to take this work forward. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Tomasz, who's going to talk about AIM 1 and what we've done towards this over the past year or so.
Thanks, Alex. So in the next few slides, we'll try to evidence how we've turned these umbrella terms and 4 objectives into practice. So kind of starting with AIM 1, putting social justice on agenda in EAP and widening parameters of that field. We've been really active using a wide range of communication channels, including our BALIP and social justice SIG JISC mail lists, but also our Twitter, the various Padlets, and our website. In terms of the website content, we've got a new logo that we are really proud of, because we thought it represents the different strands that we've been dealing with. We are currently migrating to our new website. We were based in WordPress, but we are moving to a Weebly-based website, because we think it's a little bit more user-friendly. We've dealt with a number of different events, which I'm going to tell you about in a moment. But in particular, we've been trying to lobby for inclusion of social justice as a topic in new journal, which is called the International Journal of English for Academic Purposes. And we've also had some impact on BALIP's funding streams. So more on that later. We are really proud of our wide range of activities and content. We've presented different blog entries, including long reads, podcasts, event write-ups, statements, webinars, and different workshops, attracting quite a lot of attention, as you could see in our AGM report if you had a chance to skim through it. So these are just really brief snapshots of what we've engaged so far. There's no time really to go through all of this, but you'll be able to see the details if you go to our website. We would like to expand our portfolio to other forms of content, including mini interviews, maybe, I don't know, filmed interventions, creative writing pieces. So if you have any ideas for a contribution, we're always looking for collaborators. Please get in touch. So these are just literally titles, because that's all we've got time for, but I'm going to talk about some of these in more details in a moment. Okie dokie. So to kind of provide more evidence how we support AIM 1, since the beginning, we've been also engaging with live events, including webinars, world cafes, talks with different authors, symposia, key discussions around social justice, reading club, as well as we've represented our SIG in various conferences. So most recently, we've teamed up with TAFSIG, the Testing, Assessment and Feedback SIG, and we co-delivered a series of releases revolving around assessment for social justice with the main author, Dr. John MacArthur, who made us see the connection between assessment and the roles of values of trust, honesty, responsibility, forgiveness, and responsiveness. And I think because of the sensitive nature of social justice, we've always tried to facilitate these events in a cautious manner to kind of instill safe learning environment where we do not act as experts, but we are there to simply learn from one another. And once again, if you had any ideas about potential future events, please get in touch. We're always open to initiatives. So in terms of the second aim, demonstrating value of social justice lens and broadening and strengthening evidence base of that, these are some of the other initiatives that we worked on. I've mentioned the social justice in the EAP classroom project. We've also collaborated with BALIP on the latest enacting social justice in the EAP classroom funding call. Some of us were on the panel, and we've contributed to the Padlet, helping potential people interested in the call looking at the resources available out there and showcasing similar projects. And later on today, we're going to hear from a number of people who are the winners of that call. So that's coming, stay in touch. In terms of the Emerging Voices series of contributions, it was an ongoing call, and it's still ongoing call, to examine the nature, the impact, and the lack of diversity, which is kind of implicit in using English as a global language, but also increasing the awareness of social justice in academic language and literacy. So we opened a call to bloggers, vloggers, writers, and speakers to explore the theme of that particular theme. So through its submissions, the series provided space for exploration and reflection for practitioners coming from slightly different backgrounds, not necessarily EAP, but academic literacies, ELT, EFL, ESOL, EAL, and TESOL. So lots of acronyms there. But what we were particularly hoping for is to allow new voices to be heard, someone who was still studying or just graduated, someone who was in a precarious job situation without a permanent contract, someone representing diversity in AP. And I think we've managed to do that. So far, we've had 4 submissions revolving around native speakerism, supporting LGBTQ English language teachers, and looking at Muslim female students' identity. We have at least two more releases in the pipeline. One of them is on intersectionality in ELT, and the other one is on intercultural dialogue in the classroom. What else? We also teased out some of the social justice strands of last year's BALIP 2021 conference. And there was a long read summarizing some of the interesting contributions from that conference. We've got one more aim 3, to work together with other groups in recognition of complexity and the intersectionality of SJ work. And here on this slide, you can just see a snapshot of some of the work we've done. Again, there is a bit of a sharing with other aims, so you might see some of these bullets repeated throughout. But I think what's interesting is the current initiative that Alex is very much working on, the refugee scheme. Alex, are you happy to briefly share about that scheme?
Yeah, I can just briefly say that so there's 2 strands of this scheme. So the first strand is basically putting together a program of free classes, EAP classes, for refugee background students to be able to access some sort of EAP whilst they're waiting for access to formal pre-sessionals. And the other strand, so that's this particular working group, that's getting people together from across the sector to try to increase opportunities more generally within institutions and between institutions for refugee background students to be able to access formal EAP provision.
Thank you. So as you can see, we've dealt with quite a lot in a relatively short amount of time. And that's our last aim number 4, creating welcoming, active EAP4SJ community that supports, shares good practice, and takes action. And that's one of the reasons why we are all here today. So there's a number of ways to collaborate with us, keep in touch. Obviously, you've got all these communications channels available, mainly the JISC mail list, but also Twitter, the website, the new website coming soon. We've got now, I think, 4 or 5 different Padlets. I think Ivona is sharing the links to some of them in our chat. If you haven't had a chance to have a look at them, please check it out. Another interesting initiative we worked on last year now was the Race in EAP reading group that Ivona and Lorraine run. I was wondering whether either of you, Ivona or Lorraine, wanted to tell us something about it, because I think we've had a number of different meetings there and something interesting came out of that.
Lorraine, do you want to? I don't mind. Thank you, Tomasz. So we chose a recent publication, and we shared it beforehand. We divided it into manageable chunks. It was over the summer. We were all busy with processionals. We met 3 times, and we got really good feedback afterwards. We had some reflections, Lorraine and I, what went well and what could be done perhaps differently. There was certainly an appetite for that, even well, despite it being a very busy time. And looking at the feedback, and also with my events officer hat on, those who participated really enjoyed the supportive environment that we created. They enjoyed the regularity of the meetings, which is something that came up in another feedback from from the PIM Kent event that we took part of, where we're looking at the future of the EAP and where we can go. And that was one of the item was need for networking, for strong community support within the area of social justice in EAP, and something similar came out of the reading club. And regularity, manageable chunks, and the ability to see each other within a supportive environment. That was all very important for us.
Thank you. So really in the pipeline, we've got that refugee initiative evolving, and we've now created Teams channels where people who are interested in either of the strands are in touch. We've got the ongoing Emerging Voices call, and what else there is. Hopefully by the end of today, we'll collect some more ideas from you guys.
If I may say something about the upcoming events. Yes, so we've got one event that we that was postponed from last year. That's Dr. Theo Gilbert on Science of Compassion. Then we were thinking of possible collaboration with Teacher Education SIG, but at the moment we're very much waiting to hear from the new committee members and think what else we can do together.
Thank you. Okay, so that's us. I think we are running late on it already, so I'd rather move on to the next slide, which is AGM business.
Great, I think that's me taking over now. Basically, the business that we have to do is to elect new members and also approve the annual report. I have to say I'm a novice in this space. So in terms of approving the annual report, I think that might be something that comes up in the form as well. Is that correct, Ivona? Great, lovely. And then also within the form that Ivona's just shared, you'll also have a chance to vote for the committee roles. So just to explain, we were recruiting for a convener, a secretary and ordinary members. We're recruiting for a convener because of the work that Alex is very much involved in around refugee. It's obviously taken a lot of her time, so we were wondering whether somebody else would want to come in and be the convener. But as it stands, we didn't have anyone come forward, so the proposal is that Alex and Tomasz will co-convene, assuming that everybody votes and ratifies that. As was mentioned earlier, Michelle will be leaving us because of the various things that she's involved in as well. So we're very grateful that Will Hardman has come forward as secretary, and also that Fiona Price and Tanina Baronello have come forward as ordinary members, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to very quickly introduce themselves and let everybody know what their social justice interests are. So if I start with Will.
Thank you very much, Lorraine, and thank you everyone for giving me the chance to introduce myself today. So my name's Will Hardman. I'm an EAP practitioner at the University of Liverpool. I work with pre-sessional and in-sessional students there. And yeah, I'm putting myself forward. I don't know why, but for the role of secretary. But I really wanted to get involved, basically, because I'm really interested in social justice, and in particular, I'm interested in how language policies at university and language ideologies as well can work to discriminate against and marginalise students and staff. And so I also try to incorporate that into my everyday practice. You know, looking at one of your aims, like taking action, I think that's so important. And so, like, one example of something that I've done, I've been working to try and change our speaking assessment criteria on the pre-sessional to move it away from speaking competency-based criteria that can be, you know, discriminatory, it can be potentially racist and ableist. So things like, you know, how you pronounce a particular phoneme, for example, and move it more towards a kind of dialogic, interactive kind of criteria based on building knowledge and shared understanding. So why would I like to join the Social Justice SIG? Well, I think, you know, as Tomasz has already explained, is doing some really great work. I think it's long overdue in Bali. I think we need to talk about it more. It's great that, you know, the Social Justice SIG exists. And yeah, hopefully I can make a contribution to that. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Will. That's great. Thanks for sharing. I'll hand over now to Fiona.
Okay, hi. My name's Fiona and I work at the Language Centre at UAL, which is the University of the Arts London, on both pre-sessional and in-sessional courses. I've recently completed an MA teaching English for academic purposes, and all of the areas I chose to focus on in my research, such as critical pedagogy, academic literacies, genre analysis and internationalization, can I think be effectively framed within issues of social justice. I'm interested in continuing to explore interdisciplinarity and third space working. Hopefully the future of our in-sessional provision will involve an increasingly interdisciplinary approach, because next term the idea is to embed more language development provision within subject courses. I applied to be an ordinary member of this SIG committee because I'd like to continue my focus and play a more active part in issues around social justice, to develop my understanding further. I find the aims of the EAP for Social Justice SIG inspiring, and I bring my interest, enthusiasm, and willingness to assist other office holders in my application to the role. That's me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fiona. Thanks so much for sharing. That's wonderful. Okay, and last but by no means least, Tanina.
Thanks, Lorraine. So yeah, I'm Tanina Baronello. I'm an ESOL lecturer at Glasgow Clyde College, and more recently, very recently in fact, I'm City of Glasgow College. I'm also a recent graduate, same as Fiona, from University of the West of Scotland, where I completed my Masters in TESOL, and Tom Ash was actually my dissertation supervisor, so thanks Tom Ash. I first attended the first EAP for Social Justice event I attended was the one run by Ivona and Lorraine, which was the Race and EAP reading group. And so that was really my kind of first really introduction to the SIG. And I found it's one of these, race is one of these issues where people want to discuss it and talk about it to overcome issues around it, but don't want to say the wrong thing. And I really felt that the way the whole group was set up and introduced and the atmosphere really encouraged people to speak and not worry if they said the wrong thing, because it wouldn't be taken the wrong way. And that really opens up lots of different channels of conversation. So that to me really kind of showed the importance of tackling these difficult topics like head on and not being afraid to speak. I also contributed to the Emerging Voices initiative, and again that further demonstrated to me the importance of having a group like this. And then obviously when the opportunity came up to join the committee, I was delighted to apply, and even more delighted to be here talking to you all now. My social justice issues that I have an interest in at the moment is native speakerism, so issues surrounding native speakerism and neoliberalism within the ESOL industry and the impact that these have on teacher identity. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's great to hear from all of you. Ivona has just posted the form in the chat that you need to both approve the 2022 annual report, which is also posted in the chat a little bit earlier, and also to vote for the people that you've just heard from, who are really keen to join the SIG and continue to support us in our aims. So for the rest of the time, I'm going to hand over to Ivona to introduce the fantastic winners of the recent call for funding from BARLEAP, who are going to be working on a number of different social justice research projects. But please do, throughout that time, as you're listening in as well, do go to the form and please do vote. Thank you very much.
Lorraine. Thomas, can you? Oh yes, sorry. The slide is already here. Sorry, I was busy responding to the registration, last minute registration details. Okay, so we're just as Lorraine and Thomas before said, we are delighted to have or to hear from all four authors of four projects, authors of four projects. 3 of them are here with us today. The fourth one was supposed to be with us as well, Angelos, but prior commitments due to our postponed event meant that he could not join us, but we've got a recording that he sent and he's speaking directly to our group today. So perhaps if we can maybe start with the recording, Thomas, if you're ready. That's Angelos talking about his project about inclusive teaching practices